Hey guys, Joe Rhino here, and today I'm going to do a little video that's probably about 6 months in the making, and that is Mattel Retros and Hasbro Vintage WWF figures. Hey guys, so like I mentioned in the beginning, that this is going to be a haul video of various Mattel Retro WWE figures and some vintage Hasbro figures that I picked up. And I actually had one of my friends ask me this question. He asked me about my videos, like my haul videos, and he asked me, do you buy all that stuff all at once? And for the most part, no. Sometimes I go a couple months. I just, if I'm buying a figure here and there, I'll just save it up, because to me it's like a waste if you do like a video for one or two figures. And when I think of haul, I think of like a big collection all at once. So that, to answer that question, that's like I said in the beginning, this is probably going on 6 months that I started collecting these. And I would get a package in the mail, and then the holidays kind of got in the way, and then I got a couple more figures, and then I finally figured, okay, I have enough. I want to make a video on it. So what started this was, if you can see behind me, I did another video about the Major Wrestling Figure podcast and their exclusive figures. But about 2 years ago, I started listening to their podcast, and one of the things they always talked about were the old Hasbro WWF figures. And I had some from my childhood. Actually, I'll take a picture of the one little collection that I had, and like 3 or 4 of those figures are actually from my childhood. And I've had those, and I always I'd go to my cousin Robbie's house when we were younger, and I was always in awe. He had this bin of like probably like close to 100 figures. Remembering it was probably wasn't that many. I don't even know if they made that many, but he also had the WCW figures. So if you're not a fan of the old figures, Hasbro made small 5-inch scale figures, and they're pretty much the standard figure that they brought out for a handful of years. Like I said, I only had a couple because when those started coming out, I was getting older. I got a handful for like Christmases and birthdays or whatnot, and then I grew up, went to high school, and then didn't get back into collecting until later. So anyway, so this video is inspired by the podcast, and basically, they always talk about one of their slogans. I don't know if you can see it, but actually, I think it's on the back of this. Scratch that figure itch. And that's basically talking about when you want to get that figure, or you want to get that collectible, and you get it, and then all of a sudden you just get that urge to get more. Or if you go out shopping, or go to a toy shop, or a toy show, you just get itchy to get more and stuff like that. And that's kind of like what happened here. So like I said, I'll put a little insert of my original collection. I think I had like 10 or 12 figures. And then I was at last October, I was at a local toy show, and that, it got me going, wanting to collect some figures. Sorry, I have them kind of like buried back here. And in the one toy show, that was my whole intention, was to get some of the old Hasbro figures. So the first booth I went to, I think I got Rick Martel, and these are all figures I didn't have. Like I said, I had a small collection, and I think I got all these from the same booth. I picked up a handful of figures, and the guy was actually kind of cool. He gave me like a really good deal, and some of them are pretty sought after. I got a Bam Bam Bigelow. I'll probably have to upgrade this one day, because the tattoo work is it's pretty faded. He's really weak. But since the condition, I think he had 2 Bam Bams, and the condition of that one, I think it was only like $8 or whatnot. And then I got a British Bulldog, and British Bulldog was always one of my favorites growing up. This one's a little beat up. He's got some wear and tear on his hair for the most part, I don't expect to get mint or perfect figures. I'm happy if I could just get some nice ones. I believe this one was a Macari purchase. I don't know if you ever used a app Macari. This is an Owen Hart. He was one of like the ones that I really wanted to get. Him and Bret. Never had those when I was younger. And then these were the ones I think I got from the same dealer that I got Bam Bam from. Now that I think about it, I think British Bulldog was from Macari when the same guy got Owen Hart. So these figures, my original intention was just to get some of my favorites, but as I ran into some of the ones that are, ones that I never had, ones I never thought I would own. These are the Nasty Boys. He had, I think one of these he had like a better condition one. I think one of them is mechanic. That's one of the problems. Sometimes their mechanical things didn't work. Actually, these actually both work. I think it might be the paint. He had one of them in a baggie. One of them was in better condition or whatnot, and I was able to get these. I was really happy getting those because, like I said, there was a ton of them I didn't have. And this one, I really want to get the purple and yellow or purple and gold Razor Ramon, but he had him for a decent price. It was 6 months ago. I don't really remember what I paid, but his paint on his tights are worn off, and he's got some scuffs and scratches on the back. But like I said, I don't really expect to have super mint ones. I just want to get them, have like a small little shelf. Like this is a perfect example. This usually goes for Yokozuna usually goes for a lot of money because he was one of the later releases. I do believe there's a later Yokozuna, different colors, that's even more rare. But if you look at his head, let's see if it looked like a dog got a hold of him, or maybe a kid, and chewed it up, and the person started to repair it, and then looks like they gave up on it. But I'm a customizer, so I thought I'll go in there, sand it away, resculpt some of the hair, and then paint it up. And to me, if I got this, I think one of the sales like for $10, and this is usually like a $30-$40 figure, even more if it's I think the other one. So I got those, and that's the thing that started me like, oh man, now I got to get more. And at that time, I think around Christmas, after Christmas, stores start clearancing out their items, and I found these really, really cheap. Because when you can see it says $5, and then I want to say I got him even cheaper. I think this might have been, oh yeah, this was during when GameStop had like a really good sale. So I got these. I'm going to put these back here just because they're not in the way. I do plan on opening them. That's why I don't care about the cards. And then also, a little more recently, the store Five Below. I don't know if you have a Five Below in your area, but they got a handful of waves, and they were all $5. So I got these figures. There's Zack Ryder, the podcast I was talking about. He's part of that. I got two Zack Ryders. I got a okay condition one, and this one's all, like I said, I'm going to open these anyway, but the conditions aren't great on these. And I got another one just in case one day if I ever go to one of their shows or I'm able to get that signed. Like I said, I'm just going to put these back here just because I can easily hang them on the pegs. And I'm going to go through some of the purchases I got through the mail, through eBay and Macari. And I think I got a couple from a Facebook group. I already opened these because, like I said, some of these I got around Christmas time, and I was getting Christmas gifts and packages in the mail, and so I already opened these. And so these first two, I think these are actually two different deals that I did. I got these on Macari from a guy, and I thought I would never own these. Actually, my cousin, the one that kind of inspired me to collect these, if I'm correct, I don't think he has these. And actually, one thing, it's really hard to get these with all the spikes intact. And a handful of these were actually chipped, and I don't know if you could see it. There's like a broken spike there. And I asked a couple customizers, if they've ever that customized wrestling figures, if they ever tried fixing it, and one guy said that he just took a black Sharpie and went over. So I did that because I'm never gonna get a mint one. The ones mint and package go for a crazy amount. I got this one from a online Facebook auction, and I think Shawn Michaels is one of the later ones, and I think he usually goes for a lot, but his mechanics aren't working right. That's if you know these figures, that's the infamous click that it's like, oh no. But this it does work a little bit, but like I said, I'm just going to use these to display. But also, if you notice his head, look how discolored it is. I was thinking maybe the body was like sun damaged, so I tried to like lighten it with there's like a trick you could do with like peroxide, but it didn't do anything. I think it's just over the years the head discolored. But so this will probably be a placeholder until I can find a better Shawn Michaels. If not, it's not that big of a deal to me. And then I think I got this from the same guy. It's a Tito Santana, and I thought I had him when I was growing up, but I think I was mistaking him with Jake the Snake Roberts. They might have a similar action feature. So I got Tito, and then here's a couple I still have in the. Oh, I got a Warlord. I think his mechanism was broken too. No, actually works. So Warlord. He's got really bad scuffing on his head. But like I said, some of the characters, like I didn't even plan on getting him, but he was in an online auction. The guy had a whole bunch, and I think I got some of them for like $3 and stuff like that. And then here's one of my all-time favorite tag team wrestlers, Sgt Steiner. And I really need to hunt down Rick Steiner so I could have them. And I think he's one of the ones where like his mechanism works, but it's really weak. And then lastly, out of that package, I got Demolition Crush, and another one of my all-time favorite tag teams growing up was Demolition. And I know that I think it's I don't think the single pack ones, but I think the tag team ones that came out come with like a rubber helmet, or they might all come. I'm not the expert on these, but it's not that big of a deal to me if I don't get those, because I'd rather have them displayed to show the face paint. So next one, this one might be another Macari purchase. Some guy had, so this one was this is like actually one of my holy grails. This guy had a lot of figures, and then I sent him a message and said, hey, could you cut me a deal if I was to buy like 4 figures? And then we went back and forth. The good thing about Macari is you could like make an offer. I think you could do it on eBay now. Make an offer, someone comes back with a counter offer, but we were kind of doing it through messaging. And he said, sure, I think I got these two, Earthquake and Typhoon. And if I'm right, their mechanisms don't work, or they were so scratched up, or there was a reason why he actually originally had them. He had them listed really cheap, but I don't know. Maybe they're just not sought after figures. So he had those two, and then I sent him an offer with he had a couple loose single ones. Here's another one I never had. I think they made 2 different versions of Mr. Perfect. I thought he usually has like a black triangle. This one, this is the one that it's mechanism. It's not the greatest. But I made an offer on him. And then the one that I really wanted, and I got those like dirt cheap, and this one was a little more, but when he combined them. But this is one of the later Ultimate Warriors, and I always wanted this warrior ever since I've seen him, because I have one of I think it's the first warrior. It was the kind where he had like this big cut right here, and he just looked silly, like his upper body looked a lot bigger. So this was one of my favorite warriors that I wanted to always get, and finally able to add him to the collection. And then, so here's another package. I think this was another eBay auction. Like I said, it's hard to remember, but I do remember getting these guys, Bushwhackers. I got these. These are probably the most common. These, and I would say like Jake the Snake. These were dirt cheap. I'm running out of room up here to place them. But the Bushwhackers, they're a fun tag team. Oh no! They were a fun tag team, but they're basically jobbers and lost everybody. Now all my figures are gonna fall over. Excuse me. Let me try to pick them up. I think I'm gonna have to stop setting them up here for the video because I'm running out of room. And then maybe I'll turn the camera around and I just drop some more when I'm done. So I got the Bushwhackers, and then I got Sid Justice, Sid Vicious, Sid Justice in the WWE, and I got him dirt cheap because obviously his mechanism doesn't work. The guy was honest about that, but like I said, it doesn't really bother me because I'm just gonna have him displayed on a shelf. And he was always a fun wrestler to watch. He was a little over the top sometimes, and I think he made a mistake in a promo, and then everything went downhill from there. And then another one I got from him was Andre. And Andre is actually a pretty hard one to get, especially getting his... I thought it looked like it was paint on there. Getting a nice singlet. I think he does like a headbutt. Yeah. But he's got some scuffs and everything. He's not perfect, but still one of my all-time favorite wrestlers from all the way back into like the rock and roll wrestling, or I forgot what that one cartoon was called. And then I got these to go along with my Demolition Crush. I got Axe and Smash. I think these were released singles. I think Smash might have came with Crush in a double pack. But I think these were also released singles, and maybe the single ones you got the helmet. I don't remember. But I got these guys. I'm going to attempt to stand these next to Crush. Probably going to knock a couple guys over. We'll see. And then one last one in this one. This is kind of another holy grail of mine for the Hasbros, mainly because I was a huge G.I. Joe fan growing up. I always loved Sgt. Slaughter, even though he wasn't the greatest wrestler, later in his career, but I always wanted to get a Slaughter, and his mechanism still works and stuff. But, I mean, look at that chin. Gotta love Slaughter. He does have paint wear on the back, but it's not that big of a deal for me. I'm officially out of room up there. I have 2 more boxes. Hopefully not. I think this might have been when I first started getting back into it. This might have been the first package I got. Oh yeah, because the guy threw these in. These were probably, besides the Bushwhackers, these are probably the other most common figures you'll find if you're looking for a collection, or looking to start getting into them. You'll find a million of the Rockers, and yeah, it's a different head. But I figured, I might as well. He said he had a hard time selling. I think this was from an online auction too. Said he had a hard time selling them. If I wanted them, I think I threw in a couple extra bucks just to kind of compensate shipping. And he was cool enough to throw these in. Making more room. And then I got a Greg the Hammer Valentine. I wasn't really too big of a fan of his growing up. I thought the gimmick with the leg thing was kind of silly. You know, like I think Lex Luger, they also did a weird gimmick where he had like a plate in his elbow. I mean, like if you think about it, I think he really did have one, but I don't think they're really gonna let someone have like a metal brace or whatever and potentially hurt their opponents. Like I said, it's all fun. It's all storylines. And speaking of Lex Luger, one of the other toy lines, I didn't have any of these growing up. My cousin had a bunch of them, but it was the Galoob, the WCW figures. And these are pretty much the same, almost the same scale. You could kind of like, if you were a kid and, had your own little fig fed, 90% of the kids, if they got these, they would just play with them together. I wanted to get a couple of these. There's some really rare, I think, like European, or I think it is European exclusives. I'd like to get. I don't care about those. I'd just like to get some more, like Sting, Flair, some of my favorites growing up in WCW. So the last two, I got this, and it's in a case for a reason, but because I ordered the case when I ordered this, Diesel was one of the canceled figures that one of the almost the last wave or whatnot, and it was just cool when Mattel did them that they did this retro Diesel. I just thought it was cool, but since I have Razor and Shawn Michaels, it'd be cool to open him up and put him with him. It's like the way I'm going to display these. I'll have all my vintage ones together, and then all my modern guys like the Hardys and Zack Ryder. I'll kind of have them in there. I want to get a couple more like the New Day and stuff like that. I'll have them like off to the side in their own section. There's a close-up of Diesel. And I'll put him here. But like I said, I bought this case for a reason, because I don't know if I mentioned it before, but one of my goals for this year is to collect a lot of that's what got me into wanting to collect these, is collect the toy lines that I had when I was younger. And kind of the way I want to set up my display is to have like one or two figures like on a card or in a package, and then have like loose ones surrounding it. And it all depends on the toy line. Some of them I'm not going to be able to afford, like a vintage Star Wars carded figure. So if I could get one of those like retro carded figures, or like this year they announced the Ghostbusters, if I could get something like that where it's like a homage to like the vintage stuff, then I'll hunt that down, because that is it's a little more affordable than trying to collect the vintage stuff. With this package, I got another Facebook online auction, and the guy had a ton of figures, and most of them were out of my price range. Actually, one of my friends, he's a wrestling fan, and he also collects vintage figures, Rock. He recommended, I think he does a podcast, Open Your Toys podcast, and he was talking about these one time, and he was talking about how the best way to collect, if you were to get into carded Hasbro figures for the WWF, the best thing to do is to get foreign carded figures, because they had I think it was Canada, parts of Europe, the UK, they had like Tri-Logo or whatnot, French carded figures and stuff. And a lot of people got those because, by the way of Canada and stuff. So I was looking in, and I've been selling some of my, excess stuff that I have in my own collection. And one of the things I wanted to get was a carded Hasbro figure to put in, like I said, in the back of almost like the centerpiece of my collection. And I wanted to get a figure I didn't have. I'll probably eventually end up getting a loose one, but this guy was selling a whole bunch of them, and the American versions are going for like $100, $90. I'm like, there's no way I'd be able to afford that. But he had a French carded Bret the Hitman Hart. You can see on this side. And I got this for, it's basically like half the price of what I think at the time, actually, when I went to one of those first toy shows, someone had an American Bret Hart, and I think he wanted like $110. And yeah, to me, that is kind of a lot to spend on one figure. But at the same time, if you look at what stuff costs nowadays, there's toy lines out there where figures cost 40, 50, 60 bucks. And to have something vintage from my childhood, and that's the main reason I bought this case, was to put him in this case. So now I could prominently put him in the middle of my display and then have everybody surrounding him. So that's my haul. That's my new Hasbro. I probably quadrupled my collection that I had from the beginning of this video. I take a picture and I'll insert it again to show you what I started off with, and now here's my finished collection. There's a handful of like I said, there's a couple figures that I still want to get, and then there's some of those Galoob figures I want to get. But other than that, if I don't ever get them, it's not that big of a deal. I think I got a pretty sizable collection now. Now I just got to maneuver some of my shelves around so I could fit them. So thank you. I'm going to finish this video with a little montage of my figures all put together. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.